It's that time again. Hello all. Hello Facebook land. Come on in, people. Stop what you're doing. It's time for Waddle Daddle Ding Dong. Hello Tracy, #1 viewer. Julian, delicious, fabulous. 3, yes. Lots of lovely hearts. Pinging away. Ping away. Oh, and Russell. Oh, how nice. And Steve. Gosh. Well, hello there, young lady. Oh, do you like the lions, Julian? They're very special, aren't they? They're supremely Purr-Purr. Hi, Guy. Lovely to see you. Yes, these are in honor of today. We're honoring cats today, I fancy. And Amy's watching from Florida all the way across the pond. Cats, and more cats. If you're a cat lover, today you're going to love it. If you're a dog lover, possibly less so. Did we all have a nice day today? Hello, Nikki. How lovely. And Martin is watching as well. Again, another Floridian. Hi. I imagine it's very hot over there. It's very hot here. We've all been sitting out in the sun. I have. I've done extensive sitting in the sun today, and extensive purring as well. Hello, Robert. Welcome to the party. Come join in the fun. We're having a barbecue. I think our neighbours are having a barbecue, making the most dreadful racket. I might start caterwauling at 3 o'clock in the morning. See how they like it. Yes. No, honestly, they were making such a racket. There's Monty over there. Very upset with them. Very upset. Oh, whilst I remember, watch party. Ladies and gents, if you want your friends and your family to bask in the glory that is me and my felinity, then hit watch party and share down here at the bottom. Russell says, have you been scratching to date? Oh, yes. Oh, that almost goes without saying. Scratching is an integral part of a cat's day. Scratching, definitely. Scratching and yawning. We do a lot of that, too. So don't forget to watch party. And a special shout out tonight to Church. Hello, Church. Mwah. And to anybody who I haven't done a shout out to recently, I do apologise. Mwah to you too. Welcome for joining us. So, today we are going to be doing something rather special. When I was a little kitten, I was told this story, and honestly, it made me the cat I am today. It gave me a role model for which to aspire to. A role model of courage and decency and jolly good fashion sense. This one today is the classic, the absolute classic, Puss in Boots. And settle down comfortably. I would say get your cocoa or your Magnificoco, but it's so hot. Have a lollipop or something. Settle down, and here we go. Once upon a time, there was a miller who was so poor that at his death he had nothing to leave his 3 children but his mill. Hello, Louise. Lily says, do I eat peas? No, don't like peas. Thank you very much. I'm going to get on with my story now. Hate peas. Once upon a time, there was a miller who was so poor that at his death he had nothing to leave his 3 children but his mill, his ass, and his cat. The eldest son took the mill, the second took the ass, and there was nothing left for poor Jack but to take Puss. Jack could not help thinking that he was being treated shabbily. My brothers will never be able to earn an honest livelihood, he sighed. But as for me, though Puss may feed himself by catching mice, I will certainly die of hunger. O ye of little faith, Jack. The cat, who had overheard his young master, jumped on his shoulder and began gently rubbing against his cheek, and he spoke. Dear master, he said, do not grieve, for I am not as useless as you think me, and I will undertake to make your fortune for you, if only you buy me a pair of boots and that old bag. Now Jack had very little money to spare, but knowing Puss to be a faithful old friend, he made up his mind to trust him, and so spent all he possessed upon a smart pair of boots made of buff-coloured leather. How delicious! They fitted perfectly, so Puss put them on and took the old bag which his master gave him and trotted off to the neighbouring warren, in which he knew lived a great number of rabbits. Having put some bran and fresh parsley into the bag, he laid it onto the ground, hid himself, and waited. Presently, two foolish little rabbits, sniffing the food, ran straight into the bag, when the clever cat drew the strings and caught them. Then, slinging the bag over his shoulder, he hastened off to the palace, where he asked to speak to the king. And having been shown into the royal presence, he bowed and said, Sire, my lord, the Marquis of Carabas has commanded me to present these rabbits to your majesty with his respects. The monarch, having desired his thanks to be given to the Marquis, who, as you will guess, was really our poor Jack, then ordered his head cook to dress the rabbits for dinner, and he and his daughter partook of them with great enjoyment. Day by day, Puss brought home stores of wonderful food, so that he and his master lived in plenty. And besides that, he did not fail to keep the king and his courtiers well supplied with game. Sometimes he would lay a brace of partridges at the royal feet, sometimes a large hare. But whatever it was, it always came with the same message. From my lord, the Marquis of Carabas, so that everybody in court was talking about this strange nobleman whom no one had ever seen, but who sent such generous presents to his majesty. At length, Puss decided it was time for his master to be introduced at court. So, one day he persuaded him to go and bathe in the river nearby, having heard that the king would soon pass this way. Jack stood shivering up to his neck in water, wondering what was going to happen next, when suddenly the king's carriage appeared in sight. At once, Puss began to call out as loud as he could, Help! Help! My lord, the Marquis of Carabas is drowning! The king put his head out of the window and recognized the cat and ordered his attendants to go to the assistance of the Marquis. While Jack was being taken out of the water, Puss ran to the king and told him that some robbers had run off with his master's clothes while he was bathing. The truth of the matter being that the cunning cat had hidden them under a stone. Over fell. On hearing this story, the king instantly dispatched one of his grooms to fetch a handsome suit of purple and gold. Purple. From the royal wardrobe, and arrayed this and made Jack up to be a fine, handsome fellow. And he looked for one moment like the noble lord that he was pretending to be. The king and his daughter were so pleased with his appearance that they invited them into his carriage. At first, Jack hesitated, for he was a little shy sitting next to a princess. Oh, like that, shy. But she smiled at him so sweetly and was so kind and gentle that he soon forgot his fears and, well, fell in love with her there and then. As soon as Puss had seen his master seated in the royal carriage, he whispered directions to the coachman, and then ran ahead as fast as he could trot until he got to a field of corn where the reapers were busy. "Reapers," he said fiercely, "the king will shortly pass this way. If he should ask you who this field belonged to, remember to say, 'To the Marquis of Carabas.' If you dare to disobey me, I will have you chopped up into fine mincemeat." Gosh. The reapers were so afraid of the cat that they said they promised to obey. Puss then ran on and told the other labourers whom he met to give the same answer, threatening them with terrible punishments if they disobeyed. Now, the king was in very good humour, and for the day was fine, and he found the Marquis to be a very pleasant companion. So he told the coachman to drive slowly in order that he might admire the beautiful country. "What a fine field of wheat," he said presently. "To whom does it belong?" Then the men answered as they had been told, "To our lord the Marquis of Carabas." Next they met a herd of cattle, and again the king's question, "To whom do they belong?" And they were told, "To the Marquis of Carabas." And it was the same with everything that they passed. The Marquis listened with great astonishment and thought what a very wonderful cat his dear Puss was. Indeed, indeed. And the king was delighted to find that his new friend was as wealthy as he was charming. It was a little shallow, but let's go with it. Meanwhile, Puss, who was well in advance of the royal party, had arrived at a stately castle which had belonged to a cruel ogre, the richest ever known. For all the lands the king had admired so much actually belonged to him. Puss knocked at the door and asked to see the ogre, who was received quite civilly, for he had never seen a cat in boots before, and it slightly amused him. So he and Puss soon were chatting together. The ogre, who was very conceited, began to boast of what clever tricks he could play, and the Puss sat and listened with a smile on his face. "I once heard, great ogre," he said at last, "that you possess the power of changing yourself into any kind of animal you choose, a lion or an elephant, for instance." "Well, so I can," replied the ogre. "Dear me, how much I would love to see you do that now," said Puss sweetly. The ogre was only too pleased to find a chance of showing off how clever he was, so he promised to transform himself into any animal Puss might mention. "Oh, I'll leave that choice up to you," said the cat politely. Immediately there appeared, where the ogre had been seated, an enormous lion. Ta-da! Roaring and lashing its tail and looking as though it might gobble up the cat in a trice. Puss was very much frightened, and jumping out of the window, managed to scramble onto the roof, although he could scarcely hold onto the dials on account of his high-heeled boots. Fashion, you see, not always that good. There he sat and refused to come down until the ogre had changed himself into natural form and laughingly called to him that he would not hurt him. Then Puss ventured back into the room and began to compliment the ogre on his cleverness. Oh, of course, it was all very wonderful, but it could be more wonderful still if you were so great and fierce, but could you transform yourself into a tiny, timid little creature? Such as, a mouse, I suppose. No, I think that would be quite impossible. "Not at all," said the vain ogre. "One is quite easy for me as the other, as I will show you." And in a moment, a little brown mouse was frisking along the floor whilst the ogre had vanished. Now or never, said Puss, and with a spring, he seized the mouse and gobbled it up as fast as he could. Nom, 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 nom. At the same moment, all the ladies and gentlemen whom the wicked ogre had held in his castle under a spell became disenchanted. They were so grateful for their delivery that they would have done anything to please him and readily agreed to enter into the service of the Marquis of Carabas, where Puss asked them to do so. So, now the cat had a splendid castle, which he knew to be full of treasures and at his command, and ordering a magnificent feast to be prepared. He took up his station at the castle gates to welcome his master and the royal party. As soon as the castle appeared in sight, the king inquired whose it was, for he said, "I have never seen finer." Then Puss, bowing low, threw open the castle gates and cried, "May it please your majesty to alight and enter the home of the most noble, the Marquis of Carabas." Full of surprise, the king turned to the Marquis. "Is this splendid castle indeed yours?" he asked. "Not even my own palace is more beautiful, and doubtless it is as splendid within as it is without." Puss then helped his majesty to alight and conducted him to the castle, where the group of noble gentlemen and fair ladies were waiting to receive them. Jack, or the Marquis as he is now known, gave his hand to the young princess. Turn the page. Yes. And led her to the banquet. Long and merrily they feasted, and then at length the guest rose to depart. The king embraced the Marquis and called him his dear son. And the princess blushed so charmingly, and she looked so shy and sweet, that Jack ventured to lay his heart and his fortune at her feet. And so the miller's son married the king's daughter, and there was great rejoicing throughout the land. Hurrah! Hurrah! On the evening of the wedding day, the great ball was given, to which the princess and noblemen from far and wide were invited. Prince opened the ball, wearing, on that occasion, a pair of boots made of finest leather, with gold tassels and scarlet heels. I only wish you could have seen it. When the old king... No, turn the page. Yes. When the old king died, the princess and her husband reigned in his stead, and their most honoured and faithful friend at court, guess who, was Puss himself, for his master never forgot to whom he owed all his good fortune. He lived upon the daintiest meat and the most delicious cream, and was petted and made much of for the rest of the days of his life, and never again ran after mice and rats, except, of course, for exercise and amusement. Oh, so inspiring! And so... Puss, I love you. I love you. Now, try and get that from a dog, people. Thank you very much for watching this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the story. One of my lovely colleagues will be with you tomorrow, 6:30 sharp. Don't forget to be there. Until that time, cheerio!